Firstly, I acknowledge that I'm on the lands of the Wurundjeri and Boon Wurrung people who have been custodians of this land for thousands of years, and acknowledge and pay my respects to their elders past and present. I'd like to say thank you to Mariam. It's really interesting that we're having talks from people about printing that are from a number of places around the globe and from different cultures. So I'm finding that really fascinating. So hello everybody, I'm Fiona McConnell. I'm a graduate student at the University of Melbourne specialising in East Asian art. Today I will be sharing with you Toriyama Sekien's Night Procession of 100 Demons. That is a catalogue of creatures that changed a country and conquered the globe. Between 1776 and 1784 in Edo, Japan, artist Toriyama Sekien created a book of visual illustrations of spirits from folklore that are called the yokai. This was the first time they had been systematically categorized. The encyclopedia was so popular and no doubt lucrative that it became a 4-book series in which the artist progressed from recording the known yokai to inventing his own. Sekien had previously created painted scrolls on the subject of parades of 100 demons, and you can see a couple of sections of these on the screen here in front of us. This theme was very popular amongst artists, so there are quite a few versions of this floating around. But as you will see, these are a forerunner to his printed books. Sekien has previously created painted scrolls. Sorry, I have just doubled up on myself. Today I will be discussing this innovative 18th century encyclopedia of supernatural spirits as an agent of change for firstly retaining and secondly transforming aspects of Japanese culture. I will propose methods by which the encyclopedia led to the yokai losing their frightening aspect and becoming entertaining figures of fun. We'll also look at the way in which the documenting and relocating of the yokai into the encyclopedia form resulted in a transformation of Japanese culture, and that affected their beliefs, their folklore, their pastimes, art forms, books, and the modern global world. This includes popular culture such as the Pokémon, the Studio Ghibli films, as well as the response in Japan to the COVID-19 pandemic. So let's start with what the encyclopedia looked like. They were bound in a blue cover printed with flowers and birds. The yokai pages themselves were laid out as one illustration or visual description per page. The pages were portrait format. The media was woodblock and ink printed on paper. Each illustration set the yokai in a scene relevant to their story and identified the spirit by name. Later entries expanded to include the name, a description, the story, and how to defend oneself against the yokai. So let's talk a little bit more about the yokai before we go on. Yokai means strange or alluring mystery. They are believed to have existed throughout Japan since at least the 12th century, and arising from a mixture of animistic Shinto, Buddhist, and Taoist belief systems. Yokais are spirits, souls, a life force or energy that exists in all things, and they include shape-shifting animals, water spirits, and city ghouls, amongst other creatures. They are the embodiment of a moment, a feeling of dread and bewilderment, or awe and wonder over an extraordinary event. They may be a strange sound or a peculiar scent that demands an explanation, an ineffable phenomenon explained only by a supernatural entity. Traditionally, the yokai evolved out of very real fears of the Japanese people in a specific place and time in response to events and uncertainty. They are believed to feel emotions such as happiness, sadness, or anger. They are unpredictable and can be benevolent or malevolent, which is a source of fear because you never know which way they're going to go. People would hold rituals to keep their local spirits happy and to appease or prevent their wrath or to control them. The yokai in this image is a kawuso, which is a river otter. It is known to be a trickster and a shapeshifter who is able to take on human form, especially that of a beautiful woman who would try to bewitch unwary travelers. It is depicted wearing a rice straw hat, which is traditionally worn by sake sellers, and carrying a bucket of sake. We can tell that this image is from book 1 because all we are told about the creature is its name in the Japanese characters at the top there. Excuse me for a moment. Okay, the yokai were transformed through being documented in the encyclopedia. They were trapped in a way in the pages and fixed as a type that woodblock printers and other artists would use as a reference down the years. There was also a social impact as yokai lost the power to invoke fear. And this is because the encyclopedia acted to culturally transform the yokai from something that's almost seen out of the corner of your eye to something highly visible, from something that's quite ambiguous to recognizable, and from something that is strange to something that's very familiar. In a way, they were brought out of the darkness where they could barely be seen and made visible in the light. In addition, strategies for defending yourself against them were often recorded in the encyclopedias and became widely known. So obviously this contributed to this dissipation of the fear about them. And this was key also in their future popularity. So just quickly, in this image, we have a kappa, which is an amphibious yokai. They're typically depicted as green human-like beings with webbed hands and feet and a turtle-like carapace on their backs. They have a little depression in the head called a dish, which retains water. And if this is damaged or its liquid is lost, the kappa is severely weakened. They are often accused of assaulting humans in water and removing a mythical organ called the shirokodama. Kappa are obsessed with politeness. So if a person makes a deep bow, it will return the gesture and all the water will fall out of its dish. And it will have to stay there in the bowed position until the plate is refilled with water from the river in which it lives. If a person refills it, the kappa will serve that person for all eternity. Okay, the yokai were also transformed by the encyclopedias, which displaced them from their traditional locales narratives and from the supernatural world itself in a number of ways. They became disconnected from the sites that gave them power. So by being placed on individual pages in a generic scene, the creatures were detached from the traditional physical local sites where their stories had originated and operated. They were removed from the liminal spaces on the edges of the known and unknown, which they had inhabited and which powered their fearfulness. They were extracted from their traditional narratives to become characters whose characteristics were fixed and could be cut and pasted into other stories. This diluted the power that they had from their origins. So the result was that
I'm not sure if my time warning came through just a second ago. It's about 10 minutes.
Okay, yeah, no, I didn't hear that. Okay, I'm going to have to speed up. The wild and the frightening became safe and sterilized through this process of relocation and displacement that was caused by the creation of the encyclopedia. So removing yokai from their original site spaces and narratives greatly reduced their power to scare and enabled them to be used in other lighter narratives. I'm going to skip telling you about this particular creature who is awesome, but if anybody would like to request the slides later, it will be in my presenter notes. The yokai were also transformed through relocation into the natural history context. Sekien's encyclopedia resulted in them being relocated from the supernatural world into a new category of natural history subjects in the encyclopedia. The yokai were treated the same as natural history creatures in terms of the layout, the format, the names, the illustrations, collection of facts. A new category called the mysterious was introduced by Sekien's encyclopedia that made the unreal yokai a subset of the real creatures. It managed to make the yokai both real and unreal at the same time, which, you know, is a pretty impressive feat. The impact once again was that the fear of the unknown supernatural was removed by association with the real creatures, as both could be found in the encyclopedias. What also happened is that the yokai gained credibility as a subject for study, and there were many people who were keen to collect and catalogue and record every detail of them, which, as we shall see, continues to this day. The impact on the yokai of Sekien's encyclopedia was to transform the creation, interaction, function, and perception of the yokais. So instead of the yokai evolving narratively out of local experiences, creating them became a pastime because people followed Sekien's lead. He had invented over 80 yokai for his encyclopedia. The perception of the yokai changed. The created yokai made the traditional yokai appear created as well. So it emphasized the fantasy element and belief lessened in the existence of the spirits. Interaction with people was transformed from being something that was frightening and unpredictable to controlled and fun. And the function of the yokai became that of entertainment and as a pastime. For example, people would play a game called A Gathering of 100 Supernatural Tales. This was played using 3 separate rooms, one room with 100 candles. People would invent and share spooky stories and tales of mysterious occurrences. After each story, they would blow out a candle, and after reaching 99 candles, they would stop out of fear of invoking the spirits. So they retained some power to scare, but only after 99 stories. I should add that these games would involve much drinking and become quite raucous. So who knows what the stories were like. Putting the yokai into the encyclopedia format also had an impact on society and on the modern world. The yokai became a creative resource or database of characters for all different types of storytellers in the community. Woodblock printers used the images as templates, and Sekien opened the way for anyone to create a yokai or to invent a story about one. So this changed the belief system and it created a new culture. The encyclopedia led to, amongst other cultural activities, modern ones, the Yokai Watch TV series, the Great Yokai War movie, Studio Ghibli anime movies such as Spirited Away, My Neighbour Totoro, and Pom Poko, and of course the entire Pokémon universe of games and movies and TV shows, etc., which particularly suit those who like to collect and catalogue yokai creatures. So in a process begun by Toriyama Sekien when he designed and produced the Night Parade of 100 Demons encyclopedia, the yokai spirits of Japan are today no longer scary supernatural spirits, but cuddly friends, supporters of humans, and entertaining figures of fun. And I will stop in 1 second. I just want to show you this Amabi is the yokai for the pandemic. And she has originally happened in 1846, but has been reinvented in 2020 and has been shared all over the globe in the hopes of warding off the COVID-19 virus. So I will finish there.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Fiona. That was wonderful. We have a few questions. Actually, would you be able to unshare your screen? I think we'll be able to.
We didn't practice that.
Is there a little green bar or something?
Yes, there is. There is a green bar, but oh, now it's gone into the bottom. Stop share.
Yep, perfect. Okay, now we're all there. Okay, so we have a few different questions here. We have a question from Carlos Lopez, who says, considering that these were printed from wood blocks, how widespread was publication? So what kind of print runs and distribution?
They were quite widespread, because this is UKO Japan, the floating pleasure world, and woodblock printing was very highly evolved in this town, and they were used to printing a lot in very high quantities, because it was also people would have them on their walls. They were exchanged. They used them to I remember that a lot of them made it to Europe because they were used as packaging material in ceramics. So there were so many printed that they were using them for package material. This is woodblock prints generally. So something like this, he would have probably done a smaller run to start with, but as it gained in popularity, he could have ramped up in quite a major way.